Welcome to CoatingsCast, the ultimate podcast dedicated to the science, art, and innovation of liquid and fluid applied roofing, coatings for surfaces, and waterproofing. It's time to roll up our sleeves, put on our lab coats, and dive headfirst into the world of liquid protection that keeps your roofs and surfaces in prime condition. The future is here, and it's liquid, so don't miss out. This is CoatingsCast, where every drop counts in the world of roof and surface protection. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to CoatingsCast, brought to you by CoatingsCoffeeShop.com. I'm your host, Megan Ellsworth, and today we're talking about challenges in restoration here with KARNAK, the experts from KARNAK, and a wonderful contractor, Chris McDonald. So let's get right into it and have you gentlemen introduce yourselves. Chris McDonald, can you introduce yourself first?
My name is Chris McDonald. I have a commercial roofing contractor in the Northeast, contracting firm in the Northeast. We do a lot of coatings from multiple states, and have a great long-term relationship with KARNAK. I always laugh at people who just kick out rolls because there's a lot of benefits to coating.
Yeah. So many, and I'm so excited to talk about them. Okay, John McDermott, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks for having us, Megan. And Chris, thanks for joining us, Chris and Chris. John McDermott, I've been working for KARNAK since 1997. I serve as our Vice President of Sales for our commercial roofing products division, and reside near Chicago. We have a plant here in Broadview, Illinois. And that's all we do is coatings and restoration. So thanks for having us. I hope we can be a help here.
Amazing. Chris Huettig, please introduce yourself.
And lastly, my name is Chris Huettig. I'm the Vice President of Technical Services for KARNAK. I've been with KARNAK for 26 years, so I've been in the coating industry for a long time. Worked with great people like Chris McDonald over the years. I've known Chris and his family for 20 years. So always good to get the feedback of contractors. He's been someone I've gone to for feedback from the field and the voice of the customer for many, many years. So happy to be aboard on this today.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's start off with what roof coating trends are you seeing right now that contractors should be aware of, and what challenges are they presenting to contractors? And maybe, Chris McDonald, since you're a contractor, I'll have you start out. What are some trends you're seeing right now and challenges?
Yeah. Fortunately, trends move slow in this industry, and products have to prove themselves over 10 or 20 years before they're which always doesn't happen successfully when somebody's got the newest and latest, greatest bucket of wonder. So that being said, there are many products with long proven track records that especially these guys and others. To me, silicone, which has been around for a while, to me, I'm considering it a new trend for me, and it took me 10 years of using it before I'm really comfortable saying it's very proven, and it is a spectacular product. Now, another growing trend we're starting to see is more and more municipal and utility rebates. I don't get too involved in that. Some of the building owners do. They could get $1 back per square foot. They could get this, they could get that. But that's something that contractors could check on per state or per town or per location.
And so that would be like a county or state rebate, not federal, right?
As of right now, it's county, town, state. I think there is something working on. They're working on something national for cool roof. I didn't do too much research into it. Maybe one of these guys might know more about it. But that could be a big. It could be a big help if you could save. There's areas out there where I think they get $1 back per square foot, depending what kind of coating you're doing. It could be a substantial amount of money. As for the challenges, I think it's for the new contractor. It's picking. There's always if you go to the trade shows, there's always a new coating with somebody private labeling or selling their new. I just call it their latest bucket of wonder, but it is picking old school manufacturers that have tech reps like Chris. it's the whole team has to be knowledgeable for the project to be successful.
For sure. John and Chris, what are some trends you both are seeing that contractors should be aware of, and some challenges that they're presenting to contractors?
Chris, you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Sure. Well, I think the trend is there is more and more opportunities for restoration. There's more education on it. The products have gotten better. As Chris had said, it takes a while for these things to prove themselves. And there's whole generations of roofers that won't use coatings because 25 years ago there was, things that weren't right with whatever manufacturer they were using. So the trend for coatings is here. I do think there is a trend towards better systems, meaning additional layers, possibly fabric reinforcement. There's a much bigger demand for warranty coverage. And so when there's additional warranty coverage, the manufacturer has to put more into it, more into the system, has to be more selective with their contractor to make sure they're getting the job done right. And then, the challenges that are presenting to contractors, I look at a company like Chris's Multi-Roof Maintenance, and he doesn't have all the challenges in the coatings business because he's been in it for a long time and has multiple people that are adept at doing this. There's so many contractors out there that are so good at some things. You can ask them, what are you best at? We can put down 400 squares of TPO a day, tightened up, et cetera. One of the biggest challenges for the general commercial contractor base is developing dedicated staff to doing these restoration coatings all the time because they haven't. They've done one now and then they do one next year, whereas doing these other systems all the time. So, dedicating staff to it and basically investing in it, I think, is the biggest challenge to some of the contractors.
Yeah. Chris Huettig.
Yeah, adding on to what these guys are saying, I think there's a greater eye on the building owner for how can I save money. It all comes down to money in a lot of cases. So they're looking at, if I got a roof that you're telling me I can do a coating system and I'm going to save a lot, my eyes are open. I hear a lot about it over the years now. I want to know more about it. I think that the restoration versus the replacement is a big driver and keeps getting bigger with building owners. Sustainability is always there too. I think for those that are conscious about the environment and trying not to add more to waste are looking at that as something that's opening their eyes and thinking it's good for the environment, but it's also good for me. Challenges, I think, are with these trends and with it getting more popular, there's a lot of contractors that are wanting to get into it, but they don't know all the stuff that somebody like Chris McDonald knows. I think one of the big things is assessing the roof. They don't know how to assess the roof. They hear about coatings, they know it's a trend, and then they try to dip their toe in it and they want to coat everything, and that can't happen. It's not every roof is a candidate for coating. So I think things like that, those learning steps that unfortunately a lot of them are going to have to go through a bad experience in order to make themselves have a good experience. So it's going to take some time. I mean, and we as manufacturers do a lot of training, as John mentioned. We try to help them not to have that bad experience, but unfortunately, sometimes it does still happen. But we'll all try to keep fighting it so it doesn't.
Yeah. No, that's such a good point, and especially not all roofs are good candidates for coatings or fluid applied restoration. So, how do you, going off of that, Chris Huettig, how do you introduce roof restoration to contractors so they can kind of outline it to their customers and some of its benefits?
Well, I think one of the first things is you can't position coatings as, well, you don't have the money to re-roof, so let's just coat it. You got to have the right attitude. It's not a choice because you have to. It's actually an investment. It's actually, an enhancement, and it's a better long-term goal for both parties. So I think kind of getting over that stigma that they're getting something less. So get to know the coatings. You have to find a good manufacturer you feel comfortable with. and have those conversations where you talk about what happens when this happens, what happens if it fails, what happens if I do this, what happened, all the instances to make yourself more ready to, because those are the kinds of questions building owners are going to have when you sit down and have that conversation. So you need to get over that point to them that it is a viable alternative. In fact, it's a better alternative if the roof is a candidate for coating. Put some mock-ups together. I think a lot of people, contractors hear it, but they're in the roofing world. Some of them still want to see what it looks like though, but I think you got to arm them with some of these samples too, and some of these mock-ups that they can share with the building owners, and they can talk themselves through it and give a better understanding of it as well. So I think some of those are good. And, end of the day, you're problem solving for the building owner. So think about all the problems the building owner may have and be able to have answers for each of those related to what you're doing by putting on a coating restoration system.
Yeah, that's great advice. Chris McDonald, how do you introduce roof restoration to your customers, your building owners, to, outline its benefits?
Chris started it with financially.
Yeah.
I sold tens of millions of square feet of coatings. Basically, I'm not an accountant, but explaining to my building owners that they may want to speak to their accountant because coating the roof could be considered a CAM, could be placed in the CAM category during tax season rather than a capital expense, which kind of means that rather than re-roofing it, being a capital expense, and the building owner has to pay for it, when they make it a common area maintenance, it's maintenance work and it gets billed back to the tenant. Again, I'm not playing accountant, but they go investigate it and they do what they want with that. And yeah, that's helped me sell tens of millions of square feet of coatings.
Interesting. Interesting. John, anything to add?
Yeah, just the common area maintenance agreement is something that's basically unknown to many contractors. We do training all the time, and we ask
Yeah.
who understands CAMs, and almost no one does. And so, common area maintenance agreement, just to go a little deeper on what Chris said, is the agreement that the owner has with the tenants, and in that agreement, the tenants have to pay for
Please.
maybe the parking lot, the landscaping, all kinds of maintenance, and which can include the roof. It depends on the language that's in it. And so when that is in the common area maintenance agreement, and you do a restoration system, that is considered maintenance and not a new roof. In which case, they can pass all the costs of that along to their tenants. So it's a very big money swing for the building owner if, in fact, the CAM includes that.
Wow, that's huge. And I mean, we're kind of walking the line there of, it's maintenance, but you are really restoring that roof to give it another 10, 20 years, which is huge for that building owner.
If I could jump back in, it's as I think Chris mentioned it, we're not looking for roofs. We're not looking for failed roofs. Coatings work in conjunction with an existing roofing system in a fair condition. So my sales have been years ago. I had a customer come to me and say, "Listen, we have 10 million square feet of roof. We want you to build a 5-year budget to start replacing it." Wasn't in a failed state. So we came back and said, "Listen, we could do this for 1/5 the price per square foot, and you could charge it back to your tenants." And that went on. I think we gave 5-year warranties at that time, and every 5-year it was redone for 20 years before it was finally re-roofed.
Wow.
I can imagine that helped that building owner, property manager really manage their budget. All of a sudden, they were only asking for something very little, and it went much further with the coating option. So I'm sure they were very thankful for that.
I got to admit it. I did that because I was young and I was going to be the guy on the roof tearing them off, and I didn't want to tear them off, so I figured coating was easier. So that was my main reason for doing it.
Smart.
Smart.
Good. Everybody remembers the story. Nobody remembers the facts. Good.
Yeah.
Good job there, Chris.
Exactly. That's actually why we're here talking about restoration is we
Yeah.
don't feel like tearing it off.
Yeah.
Me neither.
There's many reasons to not tear it off, but again, I can't emphasize enough. When somebody calls me up and goes, "Hey man, my roof is leaking all over. It's failed. I got 3 estimates for a new roof. Can you coat it?" The answer is probably no. So it is getting the building owners to understand. I always call it the triage. I can rate roofs from 1 to 5, kind of like triaging. I hate to say it, people injured. What condition are they in?
Right.
And we have to get the building owners who think they need to re-roof. Let's say a 5 is a re-roof, and they want to do it. Let's re-roof these buildings this year. I'd rather see them skip re-roofing those buildings and suffer and do some minor maintenance and repairs and coat the roofs that are in number 3s and 4s and get 20 more years out of them before they become number 5s, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
It does.
No, perfect sense. So, okay, working with specifiers can sometimes, feel complex. How do you all approach those collaborations to keep projects moving smoothly?
Mm-hmm.
Who's starring?
Chris McDonald, do
I'll
you want to
start.
start?
I feel like I can't shut up sometimes. I've always welcomed specifiers. Roof system failures come down to one of 3 things: wrong specification, bad installation, or a material problem. Very rarely nowadays do we have material problems. So it comes down to specification or installation. If there's a specifier on the roof, if there's not a specifier, the contractor's acting as the specifier.
Mhm.
So by having a specifier, that washes my hands of that failure. So now all I have to do is a good job installing. And everybody wants a smooth job. My job is to make the specifier's life easy and to make him look good and make him look professional to whoever he's working for. And you do things right before you know it, that specifier is asking you to bid on other projects. So
Yeah.
it's always a benefit.
Yeah. John, how do you all work with specifiers, if at all?
Yeah, we do. We have many local specifiers that just work in a general geographic areas, and then we've got companies that go all over the country with national accounts. That seems to be a play for some of these roof consultants, so to speak, is to have a national account all over that has tens of millions of square feet. And
Yeah.
we prepare specifications for each individual job for them based on data that they've given us. Maybe we visited the site and we prepare our specification. We give it to them, and then they put that into their own specification with all of their other requirements. And generally, there's all sorts of requirements about how many inspections and just a variety of things. So it's really really important to our business. It's been rather impactful, and just a handful of them have been very impactful for us to get our product specified first. You always have a better chance of landing the job if you are the basis of design, of course. And it also really, and Chris will probably speak to this, it really sort of insulates us from problems that could occur for not our fault, but problems that could occur because they monitor these projects. And sometimes they have a monitor there all the time, which is wonderful for us. We couldn't do that. We couldn't have somebody there all the time. We could,
Yeah.
but we have other projects to get started. So
Yeah.
it really does reduce our liability and ensures that we get the job done properly. And they're a direct conduit, to owners that maybe we can't get to. Very large
Yeah.
corporations. So, Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, Chris Huettig.
Yeah, specifiers, they're a demanding group, and there's a lot of ones out there that don't understand coding. So half the battle is
Yeah.
getting their confidence up. And, they're going to have a lot more questions than a building owner who's skeptical of coatings because they know the ins and outs of roofing. So you got to be able to prove it to them. You got to have code compliance. You have to show, you meet certain criteria, whether it's FM or UL in some cases, certain reflectivities, warranty discussions, things like that are going to come into play. You need to provide them tools. I mean, the easier you make your job, the better. The specifiers are more demanding. So I think, anything we can do from the manufacturing seat to make their job easier to understand your coatings, specify the coating, talk about the coating, and feel confident in it is going to be better for us. And conversations, relationships like that go tenfold because once you teach to them, they're branching out and hitting all their projects wherever they may do business at throughout the country. So again, it's just a more demanding group that asks more from the manufacturer. But I mean, we all should know this and be able to provide them that information to feel comfortable about coatings anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it really, removes some of that responsibility from the installers and also specifiers. I mean, they're there to help as well, right? And make sure that the job is done well. And so working with them can be confusing and difficult, but so important for a job. Um, so how do you all find, train, and support crews specifically for restoration jobs? And Chris McDonald, maybe we'll hit you first and then go to the other two.
So yeah, your crews can be cross-trained. Not
Yeah.
not everybody's got a 100-man team or has enough coatings to go 24/7. So they can be cross-trained, but it does take a different mindset, more meticulous and more patient than kicking out TPO and mechanically attaching it.
Yeah.
Everybody hears stories of, you could coat a couple hundred square a day, and yeah, we've come close to whatever, 1,000 square a day of coating, but they that sounds really glamorous that, yeah, we could coat 1,000 square in a day, but they forget that it took 3 weeks to prep a roof to get that
Yeah.
coating done, or the coating's the easy part. Squeezing the trigger's the easy part, or rolling it out's the easy part. The part that takes time is the prep. And then you have to have somebody who's it's more patient, checking the mill thickness, just more meticulous. Um, they also need to start small. There's sometimes these guys just come in low bidder on this 1,000 square project, and it goes. If things go bad on a small project, you could suck it up, but when they go bad on 1,000 square project or something, it's a little tougher to suck it up. In coatings, I guess, like, slow and smooth is fast is more so than installing roofs.
Yeah.
And it gets done really quick, but it's definitely a little bit different mindset.
Yeah. Kind of like the tortoise and the hare. Like it's sometimes best to just go slow and steady wins the race.
That's
You
right.
the you see the roofing contractors who go up there and they need to throw some iso board down, and, maybe there's just this little bit of moisture still on the roof, and they throw down their iso board and the moisture dries, and life goes on and everything's good. If you do that when you're coating, and it's not a water-based coating, it's all over. Some
Yeah.
some people get a little impatient, and the roof isn't dry till 11 o'clock in New Hampshire, and they wanna squeeze the triggers even though there's some moisture on the roof, and it just goes bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing too. And when you asked that question, I was thinking, it's a lot more pressure on contractors out there for coatings because some of the traditional roofing, there's some tolerances for one of the
Yeah.
biggest things we face is weather, then the other just is the application of it. There's more tolerances. Um, so on the coating side, there's more reliance on the contractor to take care of things that maybe they never thought about before.
Yeah.
In turn, they need to look to their manufacturers for help as well to get on that roof and help them. And I think the people can do it, but they just have to have a little different of a mindset. And Chris mentioned it, the slow and steady guy on the single ply roof, he may be your best person on a coating job because maybe they have an eye for detail.
Yeah.
And maybe some traditional roles like a painter is somebody who would be a good hire for someone doing roof coatings because they're used to the aesthetics of painting where everybody sees it. not everybody sees a roof, but there's a lot of details on a roof that need to be done right in the right
Yep.
order. And even have the mindset of, I'm going over a coating and there's already a coating on this roof. Some people may have an idea of, I need to bring attention to this. Does this product we're applying stick to what's there? A roofer might not, they just might think, I was told to put it down and I'm just going to do it because I got to work fast. So
Yep.
it just becomes a more thoughtful application. Once they kind of have that thought in mind and they've done it a few times, it's second nature, then it's easy.
Yeah.
But
That's interesting because I do think that sometimes there is a stereotype of, oh yeah, it's just a miracle and it's just a bucket of paint and it doesn't take, a lot of experience or knowledge or skill or or that look for detail, but it really does. And that's such a good point on different, making sure, the mill is right and it's drying down correctly and that is a really good point. So, John, how does KARNAK, support your contractors in training and supporting their crews through training?
Yeah, and I wanted to get back to that. The beyond attention to detail, one thing that we look for, so we look for great contractors that with our conversation with them, they tell us they care about getting it done right. They ask all the right questions about how to get it done right and not just about the cost or how many gallons can I not use. And so we look for those signals and we can sort of vet out contractors that may not be a fit for getting a good coating restoration done right because it is more detailed.
Yeah.
And then beyond that, so then we go to train their crew and we're looking for people within their organization that have pride. We have a technical manager, and he uses this quote every time, and he just tells them, he goes, if you don't have any pride, I can't help you. I'm going to show you everything I know, but if you don't have any pride in your workmanship, it's not going to work. And I think it's a great comment. It's a little abrupt, but it gets it right out there. And, and there of course, are applicators who, have had to swallow their pride at some point, where they didn't put the pride into it and then they got better. So, we can always get better. So that's kind of what we're looking for. And we will provide any level of training, any amount of training. We've never had a situation where we said, we've already trained you guys 3 times. We're not coming to do it again. We will keep that up as much as is necessary or as much as desired from the roofing contractor.
Love it. Love it. That's so important to have that support from a manufacturer like that. So do you gentlemen know of any regulations or guidelines that are presenting challenges right now when people are trying to execute a restoration project? Or in the past, have you seen any of these challenges when putting together a restoration project? Maybe Chris McDonald, you can go first.
You got your typical OSHA standards.
Yeah.
Other than that, VOC, that's really not the contractor's issue. That's been dealt with in the past. That had its up and downs for a couple of years, but I think that got all worked out. Then there's just that horrible word common sense. Depending on what product they're using, there still can be some odor. And
Mm-hmm.
when you're doing a daycare center or something like that, you have to be, it's all doable, but it has to be done the right way. We carry additional carbon filtration to put in the HVACs. Makes a night and day difference. We have a positive internal envelope pressure, so nothing gets sucked in, and it could stink like heck on the roof, but the interior of the building, in some cases, it's amazing the filtration we put in their HVAC units. The air's never been so fresh. Like it stinks on the roof, and then even like the air intakes to the HVAC, we have to build shrouds so it's taking it from 3 feet higher than off the bottom of the roof. I don't know if I guess a roofer can picture what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I can picture.
Um,
Yep.
but that's it. And then again, it's just the patience and to doing it the right way, I guess you could say, or so many of these guys just want to get up there and just squeeze triggers and start coating roofs, but there's other there's other things that need to be considered. It's amazing. I don't want to scare anybody out of coatings because it is absolutely underutilized and a great thing to have for the proper team. But it's not I don't want to say it's not as easy as it looks, but there are things that could go wrong. And I think I learned the hard way on every single one that could go wrong.
Yeah.
I got stories I won't even tell here. Um,
Uh-oh.
so it does come down to that's what happens, I guess, when you're in your 20s doing this, and it does come down to being patient and talking and having the right team of technical guys to help you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Chris Huettig?
from my seat, Megan, I get to hear contractors from all over the country asking questions and projects and sales reps, and so I know many times the building code does come into play, the IBC. So sometimes there's questions about that. Do we meet this, or will this be allowed? Are questions that we overcome. Places like California, they're gonna ask questions about energy a lot of times, where I don't hear those in other places of the country. So reflectivity, Title 24, things like that you got to have compliance. Chris mentioned VOCs. That seems to be a growing trend, so we try to
Yeah.
guide, contractors and give them the best advice on that. Um, Something I've seen pop up every once in a while is power washing a roof. Where does that water go? Some places of the country, they don't let that water go down a storm sewer. So the contractor needs to know that. Do they need to capture the water? And you need to ask those questions ahead of time, because if that's the case, which it can easily be done, you can transport water to jobs and the water can be captured. I've seen it done on a number of jobs, but it comes at a cost that's additional than what you normally would if you could just power wash it yourself and not have to worry about that. You
Yeah.
got to ask those questions ahead of time so it doesn't bite you on the backside, and you're charging for what the work you're doing. So just things like that. Um, Depending on the manufacturer, make sure you know all their requirements. I think that's something. You may have used manufacturer A and you think coatings, you're great. Then you go to manufacturer B for whatever reason, maybe it's specified, and you don't ask those questions, and you start to go about it, and then all of a sudden you find out you did something wrong, or you didn't use something that needed to be used as part of that. So again, don't treat them all as the same. You got to ask those questions ahead of time.
Yeah.
OSHA permitting, things like that are different all around. The OSHA would be the same, but permitting may be different. Some places you don't need to pull a permit for coating, other ones you do. So you got to be aware of all those things.
Yeah. Yeah. No, those are really great points, and especially the water and because washing and getting that surface clean is so important before a coatings job. So, John, any other regulations or guidelines that you've seen present challenges on a roof for a restoration job, and how have you seen the contractor kind of pivot and work through those?
Yeah, I don't have much to add there to what the ACE technical guy already shared there. And many of them are very regional and local. There's different,
Yeah.
California, the Northeast has the 13 state, whatever VOC thing.
Yep.
Florida has different things going on. So I don't have much to add there.
Yeah. No, that's totally fine. Well, John, do you want to start with what are some things contractors need to be of when maintaining the roof after a restoration is completed?
Well, for sure, make sure if there is damage to the roof, we should, when we propose a restoration system to an owner, also require a maintenance agreement. It's part of the warranty process. You have to have the roof maintained in order for the warranty to be intact. So we should be selling that to the owner and make sure they know that they have to have it.
Yeah.
And then when we go up, we have to make sure we're making repairs with like materials. We see it so often, not necessarily on our roof, but just you've got single ply roofs with roof cement all over them, and just different things like that. Or maybe it was a really nice acrylic restoration system and they put roof cement on it, or it's a silicone system and then they put something else on it that didn't adhere. So let's make sure we understand what's on there. Make sure we have great repair procedures for when there is some minor deficiency. And that could be just preventative maintenance, or maybe there is a problem, and just make sure we're using like materials. So they should be, and I just don't think it happens all the time, should be selling that maintenance agreement with every single restoration project or re-roofing for that matter.
Yeah. Chris Huettig, what are some things that you suggest to your contractors that they need to be aware of when maintaining the roofs after the restoration?
Well, the big thing is that maintenance, if it's a warranted coating system, it's part of the warranted package. That
Yep.
needs to be maintained. And no better time to talk about maintenance and selling a maintenance agreement for the contractor is when they're handing over that warranty paperwork. Sign
Yeah.
them up right there, point it out to them. Um, End of the day, whether you have a warranty or not, if you maintain what you have, it's going to last longer.
Yep.
We all have examples of that in our lives, no matter what we do. So you got to maintain it. So have that maintenance plan already built out so that you're able to sell it. It's going to be great for your business, and just add another component as a contractor. I think there's enough examples of that in our industry of people doing that and learning about that, which is helpful. Um, Other things that are important is, inspections, obviously are part of that, but inspections, knowing what to inspect, and doing it purposefully. You have a key chart, a key checklist of things you're going to go over, that are part of the maintenance you're selling, but also just part of, doing your due diligence on the work there, to do that. And make sure your crews know they have all the right materials on the truck at one time. So when they go out and they know they got these 5 addresses, these 5 roof systems, make sure they know what's on them and that they got something in their truck to take care of everything, so they don't have to waste time coming back and forth. Some guys don't understand it. As John said, they got a bucket of something and they're throwing it on everything. Sometimes it works, but you're rolling the dice. You really need to understand what's out there and what you're using and make sure you have it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Okay, Chris McDonald, anything that you think contractors should be aware of when maintaining a roof after the restoration?
Yes. So we'll go with contractors and the building owners. The building owners, let's use a shopping center, which has build outs quite often. New tenants move in,
Yeah.
penetrations get ripped out, new ones get installed. Like John
Yeah.
said, things get flashed with all different types of material. They kind of void the warranty, cause issues. Certain products, such as silicones, need even if they need certain prep work to make sure adhesion is right. Um, but I think the biggest thing is Ag again, the prep work for all the new penetrations getting removed or replaced, and, that the building owner should probably be calling or use the original installer when he can to handle that.
Yeah. And having that connection, that relationship with the building owner is so pivotal. And
Well, it
like
makes it,
John and Chris said.
as soon as another contractor steps on there, it gives the original contractor the "it's not my fault" excuse.
Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. So, what advice would you all give contractors who are struggling with promoting restoration as a top option for their clients? Chris McDonald, I'll have you go first.
The cost savings is the big one.
Yeah.
The successful coating contractors specifier understands that coatings they're not a substitute for a new roof. Um, when a single ply modified bitumen BUR has reached the end of its reliable life, the coating's not likely where we need to be, as we were talking about. Uh, that being said, I've seen some very, very old pitched corrugated roofs. Be coated successfully that were up to be re-roofed. But when we're talking low slope and the roof is shot, it, it's not a coating project. It's a re-roof. That
Yeah.
again comes back to installing the coating before we're talking about a completely failed roof. The coating is it's a sacrificial layer to work in conjunction with a roofing system that's in a okay condition.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. You're taking a roof that's in fair condition that would be re-roofed and 3-4 years, and you're getting 10 or 20 out of it, and maybe another 10 or 20 after that out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, so true. I think that sentence right there is a perfect selling point for building owners. So, Chris Huettig, what is some advice you would have for contractors who are struggling to promote restoration as an option?
Well, like Chris mentioned earlier, you got to target the right clients, the
Right.
right clients and the right roofs that those clients have, because I think a lot of contractors that feel uneasy about this, they don't have confidence. And it's because they've looked at some bad roofs and they tried to do something that shouldn't have been done. They failed, and then they feel like it's the coating and or their work, when really
Yeah.
they were set up for failure from the very beginning. So you got to get the confidence. So I think getting the right roof and do your homework. You need to understand there's plenty of stuff online about positives of coatings that a contractor can read, create a story similar that they've done to be able to tell that story to a building owner, and then feeling comfortable with the product. So if that means you need to practice, by all means, I'm sure you got a roof on over your shop. Get up on
Yeah.
that roof, start to coat it, kind of walk through it, and all the different things. Coat half of it with one technology, coat the other half with another, and just see how it goes. And be able to get those questions pulled out now that you can go back to your manufacturer and see how you address it. So I think those are two big things there.
That's a really good idea of really working with the product and testing it and doing it on your own roof. Brilliant. John, any last bits of advice to add on?
Yeah, I would have the contractor contact their KARNAK representative.
Ooh,
Uh,
brilliant.
Now, at the risk of grandstanding here, we do have some incredible information, data, hard number facts that we can share, and how to present that to a building owner that will show them that the life cycle cost is very, very low if they in fact do this. And I think Chris McDonald mentioned it. The real benefit to restoration is the cost. I feel the same way. There's all other benefits, environmental benefits, et cetera, no interruption of the work inside the building, a variety of things like that. But the number one benefit is the
Yeah.
cost. So if we can prove the life cycle cost is much lower, and it's not just what we say, we have independent studies from roofing contracting organizations, like the Alliance for Progress and from the NRCA, older ones. And
Yep.
it's all real data that's very relevant to what we're trying to do here. So I would just say, reach out to us. We would help you with that. I do want to say one thing. One of the biggest mistakes is a contractor goes and just tries to sell a warranty. And I do believe that's a huge mistake. It's the life
Yeah.
cycle cost that's the benefit, versus re-roofing now, or as Chris said, in 3 to 5 years. Selling the warranty means nothing. The warranty itself will it work, and will it save the building owner money over this time frame, the next 10, 20, 30 years. So I
Yeah.
wanted to point that out.
Yeah, well said. Really good point. Well, thank you all so much for talking about restoration with me today. Anything else you all want to get out there on, why it's so great, and contractors moving forward can reach out to KARNAK? Can they reach out to you, Chris McDonald, with further questions?
Oh, I would love to talk to other contractors. I'll help anybody
Awesome.
by all
Amazing.
means.
And that's all we
Yay.
do.
Yes, KARNAK is so amazing at answering questions, training, education. You can find all of their webinars, other podcasts that they've done, articles on their CoatingsCoffeeshop.com directory. Or what is the KARNAK website?
www.karnakcorp.com. That's CORP at the end. .com.
Easy. Love it.
Yep.
Amazing. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for chatting with me. And I look forward to chatting with you on the next one.
Thank
Yep,
you.
that was great.
Thanks,
This has
Megan.
been fun. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Yay. Thank you
Thanks, John.
all. Thank you all.
Yes,
Awesome.
Thank you all so much. And make sure to subscribe and listen to all of our CoatingsCast episodes on coatingscoffeeshop.com. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for joining us on this coating adventure. Stay tuned for more episodes, and in the meantime, be sure to follow us on social media to stay updated with all things roof coatings. Until next time, stay coated. For more information, go to CoatingsCoffeeShop.com.